by making this easier for us to actually fold this shirt. We're not going to use the arms, so we can delete those from the garment. I'm going to turn my surface texture in my 2D window onto monochrome so that I can see things better. I'm going to align these a little bit so that we can see things better close up. Finally, I'm going to rotate the collar here so that when we start to move everything, it's easy to select all of this when we are actually doing the folding. Okay, now I'm going to draw an internal line starting at the outside here at the armhole down about 1/2 inch. I'm just going to use this curve point here to start, and I'm going to go across underneath the upper back collar, the center about 1/4 inch, or in this case 0.3 inch, and create this internal line. This is going to allow us to make the fold much easier. Immediately, what I'm going to do is select the internal line and cut and sew it. This is going to allow me to create a crisp fold here and use this as the bended part of the shirt. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove my avatar. I'm going to rotate my 3D screen so that I can see the bottom, see the grid on the ground. I'm going to select everything in the 2D window. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and rotate my entire garment and lower it in the ground. Now I'm going to make some turned sewing lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the outside of my the side seams of my shirt and change the sewing line type to turned. I'm also going to do that with the sewing line that we created on the back across the upper back, make that a turned line as well. Now I'm going to select the large front piece and the large back piece, and in my 3D window I'm going to strengthen those. This is going to help when we simulate this, help those two pieces go very flat. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to make some manual adjustments to the collar and the shoulder seams so that these lay very nice and flat. What we can also do is we can use some more internal lines. If we notice here, our collar is curved a bit. If you'd like, you can add some internal lines to our collar so that to get this to lay flat, if we put an internal line here, this will lay flat a little bit better. So if I zoom in on my collar, I want an internal line that runs from the fold down to where it would be touching on the shoulder. So if I start here, create an internal line, we can see our internal line there. If it's not exactly in the spot that we want it, we can slide it here, slide it back to make sure it's in the correct place. My collar is symmetrical, so as you can see it here on both of them. These we would be able to also fold our collar. This helps our flatness. Trick might also be to freeze the back portion so that you can tug at your simulating garment a little bit easier. This does not have to be perfect at this moment because we're going to be going through a lot of folding and a lot of other manipulation that is going to change this collar along the way as well. Froze in the back, unfreeze it. So unstrengthen the front and the back. And if you once again simulate, you will see I am going to first the bonding from the collar stand if you have it. This will help the collar sit flat as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to temporarily freeze the collar and the placket. Now I'm going to create some internal lines on our front and our back pieces. Draw an internal line, high point shoulder, straight down to the bottom hem, double click. My shirt is symmetrical, so it draws it on both sides. And then I'm going to draw one on the back in the same place. These will allow us to fold these sides back. For the front internal lines, make the fold angle 0 degrees, and for the back internal lines, make the fold angle 360 degrees. What to do is I'm going to create a horizontal internal line a few inches down from the bottom of the armhole, and this is going to serve as the help for us to fold the bottom front under. So I'm going to start here, and I'm only going to draw it left to right from these two internal lines so that it forms like an H. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here in the same place on the back. And I'm going to change the fold angles in the same way. On the front, for the front internal lines, make the fold angle 0 degrees, and for the back internal lines, make the fold angle 360 degrees. So let's fold this shirt. I am going to put both pieces from the back directly under the front because I'm going to be selecting parts that are going to coincide. So we're going to use our pin box tool here from our 3D toolbox. And what we're going to do is we're going to select everything but the left side of our shirt. So I'm going to use my pin box and I'm going to select over to this vertical internal line, and then I'm going to do the same thing here and select over to this vertical line. This is the pairing of the left sides. As you can see, this has selected everything but the left side of the garment. I'm going to zoom out a bit. I'm going to select everything, and I am going to move the shirt up. I'm going to rotate it. Rotate it counterclockwise, and I'm going to simulate it. This obviously is causing the left side of our shirt to drop. So when we fold this, this would fall directly back against the very back. So what I want you to do is I want you to use tacks. Back left to the center back. And you can do that either in the 3D window or you can do this in the 2D window. So if I go here in my 2D window, I know that this part of the back is going to come across here to the center. So I've placed 4 pins here in my 2D window. If I come back over here and I simulate, the left side of my shirt is now folded under. And now I'm going to use my pin box tool and I'm going to right click in the 3D window and say delete all pins. I'm now going to do the opposite that I just did. I'm going to select everything except the right side . Now I've already placed tacks on the back on the left side of my garment. I'm going to put corresponding tacks in the same place on the other side of my garment on the back as well. Okay, so now I have 8 tacks on my back, and I'm going to simulate again, and my right side will fold under. If I stop my simulation, select my pin box tool, right click and say delete all pins. Now see on the back of my garment I have the tacks where my tacks are, and I can again always adjust these in this window so that if I want to make sure things are in exactly the same place and have the same tension. I'm going to select all now again, hold my shift key while I rotate this guy, and I'm going to move this very close to the ground. And it can be, the back can actually dip underneath the ground slightly. When you do that, you'll see that it dips through the ground. But if you now simulate it, the back will flatten up. And so far your shirt is looking pretty good flattened out. Here's our shirt thus far. We can see the hard fold edges here on the left and right, and we can see it in the middle where we will be folding from the back underneath the front. Select all. I am going to lift the shirt up off the ground, and I'm going to rotate it backwards, similar to what we did with the left and the right. Now I'm going to want to select just the top half of the shirt. Now we are going to use the pin box tool to select just the top half of our shirt. And so there are our pins in the top half of our shirt. Go ahead and simulate. Now I'm going to once again use my tacks to help me create a better fold. I'm going to start by placing a tack from this corner up to the top of the back here. And as you can see, there is my thread for my tacks. It goes across from the bottom of the front to the top of the back. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Place a second one. And this is what that starts to look like there. So now I have the bottom of my shirt tacked to the top of my shirt. I'm going to simulate. I'm going to make some adjustments to where I have placed these pins here on the back so that this back is more structured like the front. I'm making the adjustments on these tacks so that they are closer to this internal line that I drew for the folds. And I'm going to, so there now I can see that my edges of my shirt are closer to what I'm looking for them to do. The back matches the front a little bit better. I am going to select, we're very close. So let's finish this up by selecting everything, rotating it back horizontal, moving it close to the bottom like we did before. We can again let the back dip underneath the floor. What that does is it then allows the back to be folded up tight against the front. If we now simulate again, there's our back going up. Again, going to select my pin box tool. I'm going to right click and say delete all pins, and I'm going to simulate. I'm going to bring back my thick textured surface so I can see everything. Go and I unfreeze my collar and my placket, and the final thing that I can do here is that I can go in and delete these internal lines. And when I do that, these internal lines that helped us fold our shirt, so here is our finished folded shirt. I left the pins in to help it stay stable so that if I want to move it around and resimulate it or make some further adjustments, you can adjust it as much or as little as you see fit.